All right, what is going on? What's happening? How's it doing today? My name is Chuck, and welcome back to a Season 3 video. Welcome to Season 3, everybody. Today, we're going to be jumping into my top 8 setups y'all should be using here within Season 3 after the update. I've gone through and taken into account all the different patch notes. So I'm going to give you guys some updated builds here that you can use to dominate Season 3 of Warzone. Before any farther into the video, I want to give a massive shout out to the Noti Gang. Y'all want to be featured in a future vid. Make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe, the notifications turned on, comment down below Noti Gang, and of course, make sure to watch the video all the way through. That being said, let's jump into these setups. All right, so the first one we're going to be getting into today is going to be the Milano. We absolutely love the Milano, and this is a banger of a weapon to use here in Warzone right now. So let's jump into a good setup to be able to run on this thing. I know a lot of people love it, and that's for good reason, just because it's really good. So first thing in here is going to be the muzzle category. We're going to go through on the agency suppressor. This will really help us out here for the recoil control, of course, that damage range, so on and so forth. This is actually really solid, so I'd recommend for you guys to use this. After that, in the barrel section, though, we're going to go through on the 10.6 task force barrel. This is the most effective barrel out there you can use on the Milano, so I'd highly recommend you guys use the 10.6 task force barrel exclusively for the Milano. After that, we're gonna go to the laser section though. Here, we're skipping that under barrel because we don't need that in any capacity. We're gonna go down and throw on the Tiger Team Spotlight to increase our overall mobility. We gotta love the Tiger Team. It's a really solid attachment for a lot of these Cold War SMGs. Now we're gonna go down to the magazine section, and we're gonna go throw on the Stenag 55 round drum. The 55 round drum on this thing is just such a good attachment. There's no real reason for you to run the Salvo 55 round fast mag. It doesn't make sense. Just because the reload speed's perfectly fine. 55 is a great, amount of ammo to have in this thing, so I just kind of recommend running this. And then for our last attachment here, going to the stock section, we're gonna go through on the Raider stock, 80s fire move speed, aim, walking move speed, and of course that beautiful sprint to fire time. This is my full build here on this thing. Absolute tank of a gun. Definitely recommend y'all be trying this out. Really good SMG. Okay, so for our next one today, we're gonna be taking a look at the Owen gun. The Owen gun actually kind of got a bit of a buff slash nerf. It's a bit odd. Some stuff may work out in our favor, even though technically speaking got a bit of a nerf. So let's just jump into this here anyways. I'll give you guys a good build for it. First thing, muzzle category, throwing on that recoil booster. Obviously gotta run the recoil booster. That's pretty much like a mandatory thing on all these Vanguard SMGs. In the barrel section, we're gonna go through on the Hawkinson 142mm rapid barrel, increasing that fire rate and hip fire accuracy. I do believe this barrel right here actually got touched a little bit here within the update, but it actually, I think they decreased the fire rate ever so slightly, which in return may actually help it out, because some people were talking about how this gun's a little bit too hard to control, but I mean, this may work in your favor, actually. After that, we're going to go to the underbarrel section. We're going to go through on the M1941 hand stop here for recoil control and accuracy. We always run the hand stop on here, and if you guys want to, you can maybe throw on the skeletal instead if you feel like you can control that recoil. Me personally, I go for the M1941 hand stop, and I know it makes sometimes a bit of a difference. People say, oh, I'm on console, I can't control that recoil, so I use the hand stop. I use it now on PC, so I'd kind of probably just recommend to go with this. Now in the magazine section, this is also something that I believe they touched as well, which is the specific ammunition, which is the Garanko 72 round drum. I believe they messed the fire rate with this here just a little bit and may have made it just a tad bit slower, which once again actually will probably help out here within game, just because it does actually help that recoil control, which really isn't all that much of a bad thing considering the fire rate was really solid anyways, and it really didn't get changed hardly at all, but just ever so slightly. So we're still going to run the Garanko 72. After that, though, on the ammunition, we're gonna go throw on a hollow point here. You can either throw on hollow point or you can throw on lengthen. It really doesn't matter too much. It's just a little bit of personal preference, but I'll just throw on hollow point here. I've used hollow point here a good few times on a lot of these Vanguard SMGs ever since they got touched, and it's still perfectly fine. Now in the rear grip section here, we're actually gonna go throw on leather grip here for ADS speed, aiming, stability. This works out very nicely on these guns, just because we always lose a lot of accuracy by trying to like make our fire rate super high. So that's why we're not running something like the fabric grip here, because you do lose accuracy. So I just kind of prefer to run the leather grip, and my accuracy feels a little bit better when I actually run this, and there's no cons to this, so it's really not bad at all. In the optics section though, we're gonna go through on the NIDAR Model 47. I personally just think the NIDAR Model 47 is a very clear sight to use on this thing. I really enjoy the slate reflector, but I've recently switched over to the NIDAR, and this is just kind of what I've been running. I mean, there's no reason for me to run anything else besides that. In the stock section, we're gonna go through on, of course, that beautiful remove stock here, increasing our movement speed quite significantly, just making us more mobile overall. And then for now, our perks, we're gonna go throw on acrobatic is our first one for movement speed and sprinting move speed. Really good to make us more agile, run around the map. I always bring out my SMG when running, so just definitely gotta run acrobatic. And then now perk 2, we're gonna go throw on quick here, once again increasing our overall movement speed of this thing. Just it does increase the sprint speed. So this is my full build here for the OE. I absolutely love it. I got a pretty cool tracer on it and a CDL camo, by the way. You guys can get that in the shop. But that being said, that's a pretty good build. All right, next up, we're going to be taking a look at a really solid AR that I love using here, and that's going to be the Automata, aka the Auto John. That's kind of what I like to call it, like a mess around a little bit. But let's get into a build here for this thing. So we got 10 attachments for this bad boy. I don't know why Vanguard weapons have 10 attachments. I think it's a bit overkill, but it is what it is. First thing on this, MX silencer. We like the MX silencer. We always be using the MX on our Vanguard ARs. That's just kind of what we do. We don't need to use, you know, the recoil boost or anything else like that. Run the MX silencer. Now, the barrel section we're going to go through on the ZAC 600mm BFA barrel. This really helps out your recoil, and I'd recommend for you guys to run this one exclusively. I don't believe the Anastasia sniper is really all that great, so I just pretty much stick to running this one. Now, in the underbarrel section, we're going to go through on the M1941 hand stop. This is a tried and true classic right here. Really helps out that recoil control and just stabilizing the gun. In the magazine section, we got the 6.5mm Sakura 75 round drum. This is my drum attachment of choice, or my magazine attachment of choice. I pretty much exclusively run this. And I've tried maybe using the 50, but I just don't believe it's really all that great. I just would rather stick to the Sakura and call it a day. In the ammunition side of things, though, this is not really something where we kind of have a debate on. We pretty much just only use lengthened here because it is an AR, and pretty much making our shots register faster with an AR is definitely a good thing. So lengthened is the exclusive thing we run on these things. And the rear grip section here, we are actually going to go for something that's going to help stabilize our recoil and everything like that, which is actually going to be, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be the polymer grip. My bad. I was looking at it for a second, but it's that flinch resistance and accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. The polymer is really, really solid, and I've had some questions about this. You pretty much use the polymer or use something that is going to help stabilize based on, how the gun feels in game. I noticed that the Automaton is prone to jumping around a little bit, and I want to be able to keep myself on target as much as possible via obviously flinch resistance and be able to make sure I can control that recoil. So we're trying to use everything to our advantage here to make sure we can do that. So polymer is my go-to option. Now, in the optic section, we're going to throw on the G16 2.5x. I pretty much only run the G16 just because, I'm playing Rebirth Island. I don't need nothing outside that 2.5x range. If, like I always say, if I'm going to be using some outside of the 2.5, or if I'm looking at somebody outside of that range where they're too small to be able to hit, I should probably reevaluate and go find somebody else or get a little bit closer. In the stock section, though, here we're actually going to go through on the ZAC skeletal. I've recently been using this, and I absolutely love the ZAC skeletal on this thing. I think it actually really helps out quite a bit, and it's a pretty solid attachment of choice. Now, in the perk section, though, we're going to go through on tight grip here for accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. Really helps kind of, obviously, keep your cluster of bullets a little tighter together, making this thing an absolute laser beam with this build. And in perk 2, we're going to go through on the fully loaded perk here. Just increase that maximum starting ammo capacity. Really solid. Doesn't matter if it's your first loadout, your in-game loadout. Always good to have maximum ammo on your gun, and there really isn't much else in here that's really worth using, so we just run fully loaded. That's my full Automaton build, aka the Auto John. I love this thing. It's a really solid AR. If you're trying to drop like a PR or something like that, you can't go wrong with the Automaton. All right, so next up here, we're going to be taking a look at the XM4. This is the Cleanup Crew variant, by the way, with some diamond camo on it. The XM4 actually did get touched. I think they increased the damage range, decreased the damage by like 1 point. So it's a bit of an interesting buff nerf. I don't really know what the point of that was, but let's give you guys a build here for this. Muscle category quarters, agency, suppressor. Obviously, we're running this thing here. Tried and true build. It's a pretty standard AR build for Cold War. Next up, barrel section, 13.5 task force. Pretty easy to be able to use. It's just the best barrel out there. We got to be able to control that recoil. If you guys want a bit of a different build for this thing, like a hybrid AR SMG build, I did make one recently, so you guys can go check that out. But this is gonna be a true AR build. After that, though, in the underbarrel section, we got the field agent grip here for horizontal and vertical recoil control. Naturally, we got to be able to use this. And then the magazine section, we're going to go through on the Stenag 60 round magazine, just because, I'm a 60 round mag kind of guy, and 60 works out pretty nicely for this gun. Now, in the optic section, though, we're going to go through on the axle arms 3 times as our final attachment, just because it's the axle arms. It's the clearest sight out there, and you don't need much more than the 3X. And pretty much any situation, it just works out great no matter what situation you're in, close, medium, long range. You can get away with it at close range if you really, really have to. If you get caught with your pants down, you can't whip out the SMG. But definitely speaking, this is the best one out there. So that's my full build here for the XM4. Absolutely love this gun. Really, really solid. Speaking of guns, I did an extra build for here more recently that's been different. That's talking about the Cold War AK47. This one actually did not get touched within the most recent update, but let's give you guys a good setup for it because, according to JGod on Twitter, this is going to be like the most meta AR out there right now. So let's give you guys for sure a build for this thing. First thing, muzzle category, of course, that groove suppressor like normal. After that, in the barrel section, we're gonna go through on the Spetsnaz RPK. This is the task force equivalent, so we just run this thing here. Just there's no real ifs, ands, or buts about it. Each run the Spetsnaz on this. In the underbarrel section, we got the Spetsnaz grip here for horizontal and vertical. Of course, the Cold War AK likes to bounce around a little bit, so we got to be able to manage that, and the Spetsnaz is going to be our best option for it. The magazine section, we're once again going to throw on the Bakelite 60 or the 60 round magazine. I mean, you guys can throw on the 45 you really feel like it. I mean, this has got a pretty cool variant here for a nice little anime chick, but I mean, it's really personal preference. 45 or 60, you can't really go wrong with either or. I mean, it just depends what you feel like running. And then for our last attachment, of course, we're gonna go throw on the Axle Arms 3 times. Like I said, it's a tried and true build here for a Cold War AR. Long range, specifically medium to longer range, definitely not close range. I made a close range build here actually just the other day, so if you guys want to see that, go check it out on the channel. But this is my full build here. Love this thing. Love the Cursed Angel variant, by the way. Super good. It's got diamond camo on it. So I probably have to switch some stuff around so I can get the diamond camo to cover a few more things. All right, next up, we're going to be taking a look at the STG. So this actually got a pretty decent buff. So I do believe this could end up being one of the most meta ARs out there after the update. They did a lot of changes to the different magazines, to the barrels. So let's give you guys an updated build here for this thing. First thing, of course, is going to be that MX silencer. That hasn't changed, so we're going to be running the MX on this build. After that, in the barrel section, we're going to go throw on the VDD 760mm 05B barrel. It's the largest barrel you guys can run, and I'd recommend to do this. They messed with this barrel here within the most recent update, and it pretty much exclusively got better. There's no downsides really to it, so just go ahead and run this thing. It'll be much more of a laser beam, give you better damage range and accuracy and all that stuff. Down in the underbarrel section, we're going to go through on the M1941 hand stop. I was about to say I'm trying to look for that, but it's the second option right there for recoil control and accuracy. This hasn't really changed much either. Now in the magazine section, this is where they altered quite a bit of stuff. For me personally, what I've been using is the 7.62 Gorenko 50 round mag. I was using it before the update, but they did buff this quite significantly here, so there's not as much of it. There's no like damage range like fall off anymore, so you know, this is kind of like even better than it was before. So you guys should definitely go and run the Gorenko 50. This is an absolute like unit of a magazine now, so check this one out. Now on the ammunition side of things, we're gonna go through on lengthened here, of course, to increase that bullet velocity. Like I said, it's an AR, so got to make sure our shots hit as fast as possible. In the rear grip section here, we're gonna throw on leather grip here to increase the ADS speed and aiming stability. No cons to this thing, so you really can't go wrong there. Optic section, of course, the G16 2.5x. You ain't really got to talk too much about this. I mean, it's a 2.5 times sight. I mean, it's the closest thing we got to a nice 3 times before you start like messing around with some other stuff. And I don't use anything outside of G16 really on like Rebirth Island. Now in the stock section here, we have a couple of different options, but most likely you're gonna go with the VDD 27 precision for horizontal and recoil control and aim down sight speed. That's a really good thing. You only get the cons of hipfire accuracy, movement speed, two things we're not really too concerned with here on an AR. So we'll just throw it on the precision. And then now down for our perks, we're actually gonna go throw on Vital. Here's our first one because we're not using a damage based magazine, so this is actually gonna work. Vital doesn't stack with damage based magazines to my knowledge, so if you're trying to say, oh, I'm gonna be a little creative with it and throw on like the damage mag and Vital, that's not really gonna stack like that, so don't do that. Just throw on Vital here if you're not using a damage based mag or something that's gonna increase the overall damage to the weapon. Now in perk 2 though, we're gonna go throw on fully loaded here once again like we did for the Automaton, just because I mean there's nothing else really in here. I mean, I don't think there's anything else in here you should be using, so just throw on the fully loaded. It's my full build here for this thing. Definitely try out the STG. It's gonna be really solid here after this update in season 3. Definitely really good. All right, next up here, let's give you guys a build for one of my other favorite guns to use in Warzone right now, which is gonna be the well gun. I love using the well gun. I just think it's so fun to use and so consistent. So let's give you guys a great setup here for it. First thing is going to be the recoil booster, like always. In the barrel section, we're going to go through on the 120mm Gawain short. This is going to increase that fire rate here quite significantly. I've been running this exclusively. I just took off that shrouded barrel. I was running that pretty much exclusively, and then I switched over. I was like, okay, we're going to be using this here, as the shrouded barrel did get nerfed a little while ago, and I do believe the Gawain short is significantly better for overall close quarters encounters. In the underbarrel section, we go through on the M1941 hand stop here, like always, just for some good recoil control. In the magazine section, we're going to go through in the 7.62 Gorenko 40 round mag. This actually did not get touched here within the update, so that's still definitely good to be able to use. In the ammunition side of things, we're throwing on hollow point though. I'm running hollow point over something like lengthened, and it seems to work out really nicely for my specific build, so definitely going to try this one out. In the rear grip section here, we're going to go throw on leather grip here for ADS speed and aiming stability. I personally would say to stay away from fabric grip on this particular build, because this is a very light on your feet build, and if you start losing too much accuracy while having, you know, a short barrel and you know, a recoil booster on there, it's just gonna be a little bit too much. So throw on the leather and you'll be perfectly fine. Optic section though, we're gonna go throw on the slate reflector. There's no real reason for you to ever use the NIDAR on this thing. The slate is just unbelievably easy to use, super clear, not gonna be obtrusive or obstructive in any sort of way. So just go on the slate, just go throw on the slate here. The stock section, we're gonna go ahead and actually remove the stock. This is gonna be incredible for our movement speed and agility. Definitely love this thing. Now down into the perks here though, we're actually gonna go throw on acrobatic to once again increase our overall movement speed. I love acrobatic, it's such a good perk. And then in perk 2, we're gonna go throw on quick here like we did once again for the Owen gun earlier. Definitely go to run quick. This is a really lethal perk combo. Really good gun setup, by the way. You guys should be trying this thing out. It is really solid. And for our last gun here today, they did actually nerf the Vargo more or less as an AR build. They didn't actually nerf the gun in the way that's going to affect you as like a hybrid AR SMG. So I'll give you guys that build here today, because they did quite significantly mess with the recoil on this thing, because it was like too much of a laser beam. So if you weren't using that beforehand, I guess you wouldn't know, but if you were, you know. So first thing on this muzzle category, we're gonna throw on the regular suppressor here, just because we're trying to make this a hybrid AR SMG. So definitely go to run the regular suppressor. Skipping that barrel section, going straight to the laser, throwing on the Tiger Team Spotlight here to increase our overall movement speed and capabilities with that. So we're throwing on that. In the magazine section, we're gonna go throw on the 45 round mag. Very first option here. You don't need anything else. We're trying to keep this, you know, very mobile, not like wear ourselves down too much. We're not going to get an ADS penalty for this. So if you throw in something like the 60 round, you will get an ADS penalty, even though it looks cooler. I know. I'd love to be able to have that magazine right there, but I mean, 45, I'd much rather perform a little bit better in game and have it be a tad bit uglier. Now in the rear grip section here, we're going to go through on Serpent Wrap to increase our ADS time. Really solid, but you lose a tad bit of sprint to fire. Don't worry, we'll fix that here in just a second. Our last attachment actually for this entire video, which is gonna be the KGB skeletal stock. So this is my full build here with this thing. They did nerf it as an AR, but it's still real good here as a hybrid. So if you guys enjoyed today's vid, give it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all later. Just from Cap, don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.